All right. First rule of this channel: we not talk about this channel. Second rule of this channel: this is not legal advice. So this is going to be the roll, don't roll grift for week 4 of fantasy football. In general, a lot of stuff that you're going to have to do on your own when it comes to checking those guys that are going to be active. There's a lot of like strange guys that popped up on the injury report, and a lot of strange guys that like, well, I'm not going to say they're looking like they're going to play, but they at least look like they're trending in that direction. And we don't necessarily have clarification. Guys like AJ Brown that we were expecting to not play this week, and Debo was not expected to play this week. He looks like he's trending in that direction. So again, like trying to go after some of these guys when we break it down. From a weather perspective, there's only about 2 games that I would really think they're going to have a problem, and that's going to be the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Right now, it looks like 68% rain. Um, Generally speaking, like wind is probably a bigger issue than the rain. And then you're looking at the Bills and the Ravens, looking at like chance of showers 50%. So those are the 2 games that would have like a weather impact if you're into that type of thing. Betting lines right now, and I actually want to bring this one up first. Guys that I would be tracking with the possibility of being able to be streamable at this point, like you're looking at Cade Otton. That's going to be because Jalen McMillan is not or doubtful to play right now with a hamstring. Michael Wilson, we're still tracking on him to be in that like flex range because of Trey McBride. Remember, in general with these guys, vacated targets tend to go to running back. So like, if you're in a pinch with Cade Otton, like I would imagine that Rashad White's probably going to get an uptick in the receptions in the first place. That's what he's good at, especially with Bucky Irving trending towards not playing right now. Same thing with like Michael Wilson. I would not necessarily think that you're going to see an uptick when it comes to James Conner, because that's just kind of not what his role in the offense. Like Greg Dortch would be in line with getting an upgrade in targets more than anybody else. Ladd McConkey would pop up as a streamer in this one, and that's just because if Justin Herbert plays, even if he doesn't necessarily play just because of the script right now, I would imagine like the guy that's going to get like that 7 to 9 targets, because I could definitely see the Chargers are going to be playing from behind in this one. It would be Ladd McConkey in this offense, more so than Quentin Johnson, because I think Ladd McConkey is just going to be the target guy. If you maybe want a slightly higher ceiling, if you're going to be chasing the Chargers, if Quentin Johnson's available, but I think this might be like the first Ladd McConkey breakout game. Brian Thomas Jr. did see that Gabe Davis is popped up with a shoulder at this point. So maybe we could start talking about that. You also have Evan Ingram that is going to be out this game. So like maybe, and again, this would be another one that you're tracking like the potential game script for that Brian Thomas breakout if he's available. Also, Brenton Strange, again, with theoretically, like we could start maybe tracking Gabe Davis missing those targets. And then with Evan Ingram being out, it's going to put Brenton Strange in the same category as streamer as Cade Otton when we're tracking those targets. Did see Deontay Johnson popped up with a groin. Now, who knows if he's going to play or not. Already tracking Tommy Tremble to potentially break out this game, that 78% snaps and 3 targets. So again, vacated opportunity from Adam Thielen being out, and then Deontay Johnson either tracking on maybe being out, probably more likely to be limited in the game. So like if you're going after the tight ends, like he would be the sneaky cute guy to be going after. And then the Raiders look like a train wreck right now. Devontae Adams is out with a hamstring. You got Michael Mayer for personal reasons. So now you can start talking about like Jacoby Myers being the number 2. Probably like this is more of an upgrade to Brock Bowers than it would be Jacoby Myers. And then like Trey Tucker would be the guy to be going after with that massive upside in all of this. All right, moving on to game scripts that we're looking at, like Falcons and Saints at 42 points or 44 and a half. Sorry. Generally, this is like okay game script to be rolling out most of your main guys. Now, potentially Chris Olave is another guy that popped up on the injury report. So like that would upgrade Shaheed. Maybe you could start talking about like the breakout week for Juwan Johnson. Kamara is also questionable. I would imagine he's going to play. I don't know what the Saints are going to do in this one without Olave, and it's definitely without Alvin Kamara. I can't see that they're just going to give the boat to Jamal Williams in this one. If you want to get cute and you're in like really deep leagues, because of the Olave potential hamstring, and again, like hamstrings are like the things that I wouldn't be playing with. When it comes to like Rashid Shaheed, that would upgrade him theoretically, and then we're going after Mason Tipton up to 32% snaps. So like if there's a guy like, hey, I wouldn't necessarily want to be rolling him out with your lineup, but like this would be the guy for that breakout game based off of if Olave is out. Theoretically, all those targets have to go to somebody else if teams are going to take away Shaheed at that point down the line. Going after that, like Falcons generally in the game script, like you're probably rolling out like your main guys when it comes to the Falcons. I did see that Bijan did pop up, and I think when I was looking at it today, he's off the injury report. So if you're wondering about that, yeah, he's off the injury report. So going after some of these guys down the line, Steelers and Colts. This one's probably going to be all over the place again because like the Colts have a really bad defense, and Anthony Richardson's not particularly like super efficient right now going up against the Steelers' good defense in this one. So like trying to guess like who you would be rolling out outside of like the main guys like Jonathan Taylor, obviously, and you're looking at like the Colts by 0.5 at this point. So this is just basically a push by Vegas saying like they don't know who's going to be the one and going after this. The other thing is Jalen Warren's out, so that would maybe upgrade Cordell Patterson to be in that like low end desperation range for the Steelers in this one. I probably would be staying away from like certain guys like maybe Pickens. Especially because if you're rolling them in that like flex wide receiver 2 range, you'd be okay with maybe Muth if you have to go after those guys. But Jonathan Taylor probably be the only guy that I would really want to be rolling out for the Colts, and that's going to be because I don't know who else you're going to be rolling out, and that's going to be in that volume based range more so than I think you're actually going to get much out of him when it comes down to that. Jaguars and Texans at this point, like high implied point total 47.5 to be going after these ones. When it comes to the Texans by 3.5. So again, like the Jaguars look like an absolute train wreck last week. So again, because I would expect that maybe we could get that negative game script for the Jaguars, that's why I'd be rolling out Brian Thomas. Christian Kirk, obviously at this point would probably already be in that flex range, if not wide receiver 2 range. Brenton Strange is going to be like your streamer if you're after that. The other things that go on this, I did see that Nico is tracking towards playing at this point. So if you're wondering about that, Joe Mixon popped up that he may actually play this game with Pierce being theoretically out and then Tank Dell out. So Dalton Schultz would stay in that range of streamability if you have him. Nico's off the injury report. So again, like remember, vacated targets tend to go to running backs first and then tight ends and then wide receivers. That's just how they tend to go if we're trying to chase all that stuff. So that would keep Dalton Schultz available. When it comes to the running back situation, and I do have Cam Akers mostly as a block, if you're wondering, you're going to be waiting until like kickoff to find out on this one. So again, I would imagine because of Joe Mixon, you're probably going to see very unpredictable usage when it comes to like Cam Akers or Mixon, regardless who goes in. If Mixon's active, I don't know if he's going to get the whole boat. If Akers is the guy, Dare is going to get a certain amount of usage, which is going to cap the ceiling on Akers on that one. It is a good script when it comes to be rolling out even an active Mixon or Cam Akers, because theoretically they're going to be ahead on how bad the Jaguars have been at this point in the season. Vikings and Packers are at 45 implied points. When it comes to like Jordan Love at this point, he is tracking as questionable in this one. And I'll take off the Texans. So Jordan Love is tracking as questionable today. When it comes down to that, like your guess is as good as mine. This is one of the ones like waiting on midnight when some of like the insiders start popping things to like Adam Schefter and stuff like that on Twitter to find out if these guys are going to roll. In this case, because of what like I would project that we could theoretically get an unpredictable game script. Again, the Vikings defense is going to be all or nothing when it comes to that, down to that. That's why I would imagine that maybe the Packers are going to err on the side of caution and not send Jordan Love out to get blitzed into oblivion on this one. If Jordan Love plays, then you're going to be able to roll out like Romeo Doubs is like a low end 2. Jaden Reed's going to stay in there. Christian Watson is going to end up being, a boom bust 3 if you're into that type of thing. Following Tucker Kraft in this one would be another one to see if he's going to be available. He's off the injury report with the shoulder. So at this point, like he would be in streamability if Jordan Love is available in this one. If Jordan Love's not available and Malik Willis plays, again, Malik Willis would probably be a streamer at this point. And the only guy that I probably would be going after would be Jaden Reed to roll in that case, because you're going to probably get a little bit of rushing work on top of whatever passing work you can get in this one. Jordan Addison is looking like he's going to play for the Vikings. He's off the injury report if you're wondering about that. Bengals and Panthers, 46 implied points in this one. That's a little surprising me. I thought it would have been a little bit higher after what happened to the Bengals on Monday night with the Redskins. So the Panthers are 5-point underdogs. Again, that's a little surprising to me based off of what Andy Dalton did in this one. So again, I probably would be rolling out everybody. So you're looking at like the top 3 wide receivers for the Bengals. Obviously Chase, T. Higgins, Sivas becomes available. If you want to be chasing like Gesicki at this point, like I understand, I think there are better guys. If you're looking to stream at this point, like that project towards being like the number 3 or even possibly number 2 in their offense when it comes down to that. Panthers, Deontay Johnson pops up with an injury. This is the groin. And then trying to track where those vacated opportunities are going to go when it comes for the Panthers at this point. So like he's questionable. Got to be following that if you're going to be rolling out there, probably like in your flex or wide receiver 2 range. Jonathan Mingo's on IR. If you're chasing like Jonathan Mingo, I understand why you would do that. Leggett, like that would maybe be the guy that I think has a little bit more of a upside if you're going to be chasing that type of thing. The main one in all of this, I brought up is like Tommy Tremble and that like 78% snaps. This is trackable from week 1 where you have 73% snaps for Jatavion Sanders. And now Tommy Tremble was injured that week. Now he's coming back. He's up to 78% snaps. So again, vacated targets go to running backs, then tight ends, then wide receivers. So I imagine that we can guess that there's a spike week in store for Tommy Tremble. And if that occurs, on Sunday night, like, hey, we can predict that at this point, that's going to occur on this one. So like going after that, Chuba is going to remain, if not a top 10 running back, as an RB2 in this one, if I'd be going after that. And Zach Moss, the other thing is Chase Brown, if you want to, if you're really desperate in deeper leagues, yeah, he would be up there as potentially some type of streamer because of the efficiency last week going up against that Panthers defense. Rams and Bears, and this one's going to be another one that's going to be difficult to predict. In general, and I'll bring up the scoring line on that one. So 47 points, which is a little higher than I was expecting, to be honest, in this one when it comes down to this. With the Bears not being able to really predict what their offense is going to look like, and the Rams not being able to predict what their offense is going to be look like, this is going to be really interesting. The Rams are a team that is known to be in primarily 3 wide receiver sets. So last week they come out because of all those injuries, and they're in a lot of 2 tight end sets in this case. So what's that going to do? If theoretically like Colby Parkinson's going to be there as a streamer, your guess is as good as mine, like what the wide receiver situation is going to be like. I imagine they're going to try and run the football down the Bears' throat because the Bears are really good in the secondary and their pass rush. So when it comes to the Bears can't run the football partially because their offensive line is really bad. Roschon is supposed to get a quote unquote extended look in this game. Like, I may have to roll out my Roschon shares, even though their coach came out and said that Khalil Herbert is the goal line guy. So like, you're probably going to get a certain amount of design work when it comes to DeAndre Swift, so I wouldn't be rolling him out. Roschon's going to get all the gravy and a majority of the check down monster work, and Khalil Herbert's going to be the vulture when it comes to any theoretical red zone opportunity. Now, when it comes to the wide receivers for the Bears, in this case, like what's his face, Keenan Allen is going to be trending towards playing at this point, like whatever that means. Based off of what we've seen the last couple of weeks, like the guy to throw out there with the possibility of that massive spike week is to Chase Rome at this point because of the air yards. And if the Bears can't run the football and they're going to be passing, and that's primarily why I would be tracking Roschon to get a majority of the work because their offensive line is so bad, and Roschon can just be like a 6th offensive lineman at that point. Tracking Rome as theoretically being able to follow up, I think it was like 191 air yards a second week in a row, as opposed to like the less efficient usage of DJ Moore. DJ Moore is still going to be fine. You paid for him 10 targets, 8 targets. I would still imagine that's what's going to occur. And, we can kind of guess that maybe the best thing for the Bears to do is just, throw it 50 times again in this game, which would probably put Keenan Allen in wide receiver 3 range. He did have 11 targets in week 1 on 68% snaps. They may be the less valuable catches in this one, but sometimes it doesn't matter if you're going to be chasing after those things. If Keenan Allen plays, your guess is going to be as good as mine of whether or not to be rolling out your Cole Kmet shares when it comes down to all this stuff. But in general, like I don't think this is a very good game to try and predict how the game flow is going to go. Like these are 2 offenses that could be very, very bad, or these are 2 offenses that could theoretically end up just lighting it up in this game because of the script. Now, remember, even though the Bears have a good defense, they don't have a very good offense, which means they could be turning the football over to the Rams a lot in this game. So there's going to be a lot of scoring opportunities. So again, like I don't know how to predict that one. Jets and Broncos, lower scoring game, probably around like the Jets are going to play slow. They're going to play defense. You're expecting Bo Nix to magically be able to outperform the Jets defense. So again, I probably wouldn't be chasing any of the Broncos in this one. And when it comes to the Jets, like I'm just rolling out my basic guys. Like if you have Braylon Allen, theoretically, this could turn into a blowout, which means like more opportunities for Braylon Allen, which I think would open him up a little bit. But primarily, you're just looking at like Brees and Garrett Wilson. Probably not any of the Broncos in this one. Like I don't know if it's a pretty very good matchup. Eagles and Buccaneers, 47 implied points. I'm going to guess like the Eagles are the favorite by only 1.5 points. That's a little surprising to me in that one. But like the Eagles have not been playing particularly well, and the Buccaneers, started the season at least well. So in this one, because of everything that's going on, like maybe AJ Brown's going to be a role. Outside of that, him, obviously Barkley, the league winner, and Dallas Goedert are going to be good to go when it comes to Buccaneers. I already talked about like Cade Otton theoretically being able to play. Bucky Irving right now is going to be trending towards not playing based off of what we've seen in the week. If you're into that type of thing, he is going to be like questionable with a hamstring again. Like hamstrings are probably one of those ones that like tend to not get played with when it comes to teams and their availability on that one. So again, outside of like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, maybe Cade Otton because of the Jalen McMillan theoretical injury, like those type of things going on with this one. Commanders and Cardinals. This one, like I would probably be tracking on rolling out everybody in this one. So you're looking at like Zach Ertz and Scary Terry. B-Rob's going to be a massive upgrade because Eckler's going to be out in this one. On the other hand, when it comes to the Cardinals, if you want to be chasing a guy, I think that like if you're going to be cute in this one, you could talk about like Tip Freeman as the tight end to take over for Trey McBride. He's got the athletic measurables, probably going to be the every down guy when it comes to blocking. The problem that you're running into, if you're going to be getting a little bit cute with that one, is Elijah Higgins may end up getting like the receiving work, and Tip Freeman may end up just being the pure blocker in this one when it comes down to that. Also going to upgrade Greg Dortch probably should be started at this point because the vacated opportunities. I could see him taking over some of that Trey McBride work when it comes down to that in this one. And that's a 2-point advantage for the Cardinals in this one. And that's a 45 implied point, which is like, okay, Patriots and Niners, and they 45 points. I guess like they're tracking the Niners to just blow them out. Yeah, by 9 at this point. So obviously no Patriots I'd be rolling out in this one. Probably that includes like no Ramondre if you're into that type of thing. When it comes to the 49ers, and this gets like a little interesting. This is not a real football channel, and this is not a gossip channel, but their tape today of Shanahan, getting into it with Brandon Ayuk, and I guess it was over shorts at this point. So when it comes down to that, like Debo goes from like probably not going to play this week to now questionable because of the calf. So like if you went out and you spent on Jawan Jennings, I still think there's a good possibility that you could get something out of him because of the Ayuk situation and the Debo situation. Probably still keeps him in that like wide receiver 3 flex range instead of like what would theoretically be like wide receiver 2 when it comes down to that. Kittle, if you're interested, he's off the injury report, so he is going to be playing in this one. The other thing is, if you have the ability and you're the Jordan Mason owner, Isaac Goriendo, you might be stashing this week to see if there's a slight uptick when it comes to usage. So you might be cuffing when it comes to Jordan Mason at this point if you're into that type of thing. All right. Browns and Raiders in this one. This is the train wreck that is the Raiders this year when it comes down to that. So you're looking at, and I already talked about this with the Raiders, Michael Mayer. He has like personal reasons he's going to be out. Who knows what that means? And then you have Devontae Adams is going to be out with that hamstring. That's going to upgrade Trey Tucker to maybe land. And then definitely like Jacoby Myers would get the biggest jump on probably into like wide receiver 2. If there's this week's Jawan Jennings that we can talk about, is probably going to be Jacoby Myers at this point to operate as the number 2 in the offense behind like Brock Bowers. Not going to be a good offense, obviously. If we're going to be doing that, like 1.5 point favorite by the Browns, 43.5 points. That means they're not expecting like too much scoring in this one. When it comes to the Brown, the other thing is Jerome Ford is going to be off the injury report. Last time I looked on this one. So he's looking like he might get the work against the Raiders when it comes down to that. So like if you're into that, the only other guys that I would be looking at, David Njoku remains out. Like he did get a limited, and then they downgraded him to out. And then Amari Cooper, if we were tracking him to be injured coming out of last week, like he's not on the injury report, hasn't been on the injury report all week, and I would be rolling him out in that range against the Raiders. Chiefs and Chargers at this point. So Justin Herbert is going to be, maybe at, and this is part of the reason I was waiting on some news before I got this out. So he's questionable. Remember, the Chargers have a bye next week. So in this case, like, I would expect that they would have shut him down this week, but they're not. They're going to be rolling him out against KC. Joe Alt is going to be like trending towards not playing. So trying to guess like what the game script is going to be against Kansas City, with Vegas saying that this is going to be 49 total points between these two teams. And they have like the Chiefs by 3. So I guess Vegas is saying roll out everybody in this one. As opposed to, like, I would generally think that the Chiefs are going to blow out the Chargers. So we could probably be rolling the Chargers toys out there in the passing game, even if Justin Herbert's out, because again, like, I don't care who wins the game. I just care if I can predict like the amount of passing that's going to go on, the opportunities are going to go to the wide receivers. If the Chargers are playing from behind, they're going to have to throw more. That's why I'd be like looking at like rolling a lad out there. When it comes to the Chiefs, because of the Derwin James suspension, like, you can look at potentially upgrading Travis Kelce. Because of the beginning of the season, Father Time's undefeated. I would say he's a streamer at this point. When it comes to Rashee Rice, like, he's the main guy I would be going after against. And then because of the potential game flow, you are looking at Carson Steele being in that like RB2 range, like, just getting fed the rock in this one. Bills and Ravens. Ravens by 3. That's a little surprising to me. 47.5. So again, this is one of the higher implied point totals. So I would be rolling out everybody in this game when it comes down to that. So if you're wondering, that it's Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakur. After that, I don't know if I would necessarily be chasing anybody else. Like, James Cook is going to be obviously, if not like a high end 2, he's going to be running back 1 at this point, like one of those theoretical league winners. When it comes to the Ravens, again, because of the implied point total, I would feel pretty good about rolling out Mark Andrews. If you're worried about that type of thing, where's he at? Mark Andrews would be available. Like, this is going to be the ongoing like Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. So Rashad Bateman's probably an RB or wide receiver 3 at this point. Zay Flowers probably, I'm going to just say like a low end 2. He's probably going to get volume one way, shape, or form. That's going to allow Mark Andrews to be in there. And again, because of the implied point totals, if you're in those deeper leagues, this is going to put Justice Hill on the table because of the pure opportunity, especially in the passing game. If we can expect that these two teams are going to get scoring a little bit on each other. Dolphins and Titans have the Dolphins by 6.5. So at this point, when it comes to the Dolphins, and this is another one where it's a crazy week to try and track everybody. So Skylar Thompson is questionable with those ribs after not looking like he's going to play this week. Rumors are abound that it's going to be Tyler Huntley. It's going to end up starting this game. Now, I don't necessarily think that this helps when it comes to being able to predict your toys. If you have Jalen Waddle and you have Tyreek Hill, they're probably going to end up, obviously at this point, like being in those wide receiver 2 range at this point. I think Tyler Huntley is going to allow you to feel a little bit better about rolling them out. In general, I don't necessarily think they're like good rolls when it comes out on that thing. The only guy for the Dolphins I feel real good about is A-Chain and chasing those like 74% snaps that he had. And the other thing is like you're looking at like Mostert being questionable again, whatever that means. So like tracing whatever we can guess is going to be the split when it comes to the running backs. I'm just going to generally say like they are going to design the entire offense around A-Chain at this point. And Huntley might be able to keep them serviceable enough, especially in a game with like Will Levis likely to do Will Levis things. Outside of Tony Pollard, I probably wouldn't be chasing any of the Titans toys because of the unpredictability. And with the Titans, you're probably just chasing the snap share of Pollard. Seahawks and Lions, 49 points. So this is a higher implied point total game. So rolling out everybody, they have the Lions by 6 in this one. I think that's a little odd. I would have had it probably a little closer based just generally how we've seen the Lions and Seahawks play so far this year, going after some of these guys. So Kenneth Walker right now, I would say, is trending towards playing if you're into that thing. Now, remember, this is a Monday night game. So if you're waiting on Walker and you don't have Charbonnet, you might have to make that business decision come Sunday night, whether or not that comes out. Now, generally, some of the news will come out earlier on whether or not the Seahawks are expecting Kenneth Walker to end up playing. And again, some of the time they're waiting to see how these guys respond. So that's why we have to like wait to the next day when it comes down to that. There should be a practice report coming out tomorrow on these guys when it comes down to that. If Charbonnet is the guy, I'm obviously rolling out Charbonnet. Even if Kenneth Walker, and this is something I would talk about, even if Kenneth Walker does go, I would not be surprised if he's on some type of like snap count and it ends up being closer to a 50-50 split, even though we didn't see that in week 1 when it came to Kenneth Walker in this one. Noah Fant would be another one, like getting up there into potential streamability range, but he was limited, so I probably would downgrade him out of trying to track the streamability on this one. And then DK, I'd be rolling out there because of the implied game script that I could see going on with the Lions that would put like JSN either in that like low end 2 or like flex range when it comes down to that. Wouldn't be chasing anybody else. Obviously, the big news, if you're into that type of thing with how disappointing Laporta has been, he is going to not be on the injury report. So, whatever's going on with that ankle is fine at this point. And then there's no real other person when it comes to the Lions. So again, like you're rolling out both your running backs, that's like weekly at this point. No one has to tell you how to do that thing. Higher implied point totals in this one. Maybe you're chasing JMO when it comes to that wide receiver 3 type range to go after these guys down the line. And then the Cowboys and Giants. And again, this was a game that they had by 4.5 by the Cowboys and 45 implied point total game in general. I don't have a lot to say about this game at this point other than like, it would be nice if, I had 2 things to say about this. It would be nice if the Jets had better coaching last year in order to have Garrett Wilson not be an entire bust, because you can see that there's at least good enough coaching when it comes to the Giants to be able to get the actual football to Malik Neighbors in all the fun ways that they could do all the stuff that they were doing. And just imagine like how much better he would be if they had like a slightly better, I did see a little bit of the highlights when it comes to like Daniel Jones in this one. And, if Daniel Jones was a little bit better, like, yeah, theoretically you could get like a unicorn type season from Malik Neighbors in this one when it comes down to that. So anyway, that's going to be the Grift for week 4. Hopefully this will help set your lineup. A lot of these guys, you're going to have to end up tracking, about midnight on Saturday. That's when like all the rumors come out on Twitter about whether or not guys are going to end up playing or not playing. What comes down to that thing to set your lineup. And I'll be back on Sunday with the sausage.